here at the bottom right-hand corner of Crevasse from Team FXO. That is Lucky. Yeah.
All right. From the Team Rain is Artist.
All right, so special treat for you guys because these guys are legitimately two of the very best players in the world, and I can't wait to see what sort of strategy they're going to bring out here. As you mentioned before, Crevasse, this version of Crevasse has that full set of mineral patches, 2 Vespian geysers on that inside natural expansion, so we'll see if players build strategies around that or if they've even noticed at this point. I'm sure, I would have said actually that I'm sure at this point in the tournament that they would have picked up on that version, but DeMuslim and Chef hadn't played at this map apparently.
This monitor is so good. It's so crisp and clear for me to watch the game. It's pretty cool to see it all. And I gotta say, I like Artist not because he's a Terran player. That's one of the reasons, but because his name is Artist. I'm an artist too. I actually have a bachelor's in studio art.
You holding that lofty art degree over me again?
I know. No, I'm an artist, not an artiste.
No, you're actually quite you are actually quite a talented artist. You've done a lot of the graphic design work for the programs we've done, Litterbox, so on and so forth. So.
A little bit. I like to Photoshop things once in a while. I created a very, very creepy Photoshop of White Raw's face on a cat once for a certain thread on Team Liquid. You guys can look that up if you want to. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen the White Raw's faces everywhere thread, right?
Yes.
So you have.
Anyway.
All right, maybe nobody has. Huh, we'll look it up. It's a funny thread.
But, so here we have it, and Lucky decided to expand right away. I believe that was on 15 over to his opponent's side of things, and he's actually going to save up for what looks to be the 17 pool afterwards, actually throwing down gas first, so we will have a Zergling speed first of all.
Yep, that is indeed the truth. Very kind of delayed spawn pool, it almost seems, for Lucky. You know, it seems like he tried to maybe squeeze in an extra drone there. There it goes now, down on 17 supply.
Yes, indeed, and he's already going to start that gas mining here in just a second. On his opponent's side of things, though, Artist is going after what appears to be a fast Hellion build. Hellion expands very, very popular on this map. They can traverse the very long walk distance very quickly. On top of that, they also allow for a nice early expansion into this pocket natural.
Oh, yeah.
So, there we have it.
And I've got a feeling we're going to see a little bit different TVZ than the last one we saw on this map a little bit earlier today. We saw that crazy sort of bio game versus Roach Link for a long time there. But in the Korean scene, it's much, much more common to do these Hellion expands and then kind of go one of 2 different directions from that if you're a Terran player. Either we see the kind of Slayer style Hellion Marine, you know, with a medevac or 2, drops at the opponent's base with the stuff on the low ground, or we see just standard Marine tank. On a big map like this, I think it's much more likely we're going to see that standard Marine tank play out of Rain Artist.
Yeah, and on Lucky side of things, we'd already been seeing a return to a pretty heavy Ling Bling Muta build.
Bling?
Baneling, man.
He's got bling.
He does have bling. He's awesome. But so we have Ling Bling Muta, and you know, that's becoming a little bit more popular as well, just given the fact that the Infestors were nerfed quite hard. Infestors are still certainly incredible units, very, very useful, but they tend to come a little bit later in the game. You don't see as many Zerg players just rushing right for Infestors as fast as possible anymore.
Well, the interesting thing is that among Zerg players we've seen in this tournament so far, you know, yesterday and today we've seen a lot of Zergs still go for that Infestation Pit, but use that as sort of a way to get a fast hive and then get really fast adrenal glands and Zergling upgrades and go really hardcore in the Zerglings. So that's kind of interesting.
Very much so, and we'll see if Lucky decides to go down that path. He already sees the Hellions, so he puts the Spine Crawler down right away, but that's not going to be done for quite a while. The Hellions will have ample opportunity to make their way in beforehand. There are 2 queens up. Yeah, just 2 queens, no third quite yet. So Artist could kite around and do a lot of damage with these Hellions.
Well, I mean, he's going to kill off a couple Zerglings here, but the queen positioning for Lucky is pretty good. Obviously, it's going to keep those Hellions from moving in there. I shouldn't say obviously, because you never know, man. Hellions are pretty fast. Sometimes it looks like they're coated in butter the way they kind of slip through Zerg buildings and get by the mineral line. But no, it looks like he's just going to kind of hang out at the front of the base for now.
No, Artist is actually using this to double expand very quickly. A 3rd command center being constructed on the left-hand side, almost close to what DeMuslim was doing. So
yeah, no kidding. I mean, it is definitely a map where you can go for a pretty fast command center. So it's a little bit surprising, but you know, you can see how it makes sense. A lot of players have done it in the past. But Will he be able to hold it, though? That Hellion has 1 hit point, doesn't it?
Well done, Artist.
He's in a heap of trouble.
Oh God! Now, see, every time you say something like that, like I can't stop. I can't get the character voices out of my head. But Artist is not done with these Hellions. He's producing 2 more after this, so he's going to try and do as much damage as he can right away. Still, all 6 Hellions sitting in the mix. A bunch of Lings are being constructed, and during this entire time, Lucky has not been able to drone up. Artist, he did sacrifice a few SCVs to get up that earlier 3rd command center, but very soon he's going to be on 3 CCs, actually 3 orbital commands, and pumping mules very quickly.
Yeah, and he's also going to have a ton of Marines coming out as well. He's got 4 barracks down right now, Stim on the way. Hellions roasting that spine crawler.
Transfused.
Nice transfuse, keeping that at high health. Oh, and he's going to go in, and I don't know if this is a very good decision by Rain Artist. He is going to lose all these Hellions.
Yeah, and Lucky's actually going to gain quite a bit there. Artist down to 37 supply. His opponent already at 60. Unfortunately, supply blocked at the moment, so he won't be able to take advantage of any extra larvae. 2 Overlords being constructed in response to that. But you know what? Artist is still going to be in a pretty good position if he can secure and hold this 3rd expansion, but it's going to be a lot more difficult now that he has sacrificed so much control of the map.
You know, yeah, sometimes you see those opportunities and you think it's going to be good to move in with the Hellions, try to do some damage, and in a situation like that, it's like, all right, well, I did just lose that map control. I can still sit back, kind of build up units. It's that point in the game where Zerg has a hard time busting in with the turn unless they go for some sort of crazy high economy Baneling bust strategy. But as you can see, you know, Lucky has decided not to do that. His Baneling nest isn't even finished yet. He's getting that lair on the way as well. So like you said, probably going to be Mutaling, Baneling, so Rain Artist should be just fine for now.
Yeah, certainly. And we have +1 carapace just about to finish up for those Zerglings, so a little more flexible upgrade as it works for all types of Zerg ground units. It's not like the weapons upgrade where you have to split between your range units or your melee units. So he's going to have a lot of flexibility into moving into different unit compositions as we go along. There we have Zerg melee attacks finally being added to the mix, so he is going to commit over to this Ling, Baneling, Muta composition.
Yep, Spire on the way, so.
Yes, indeed. And Artist going to move himself out to his 3rd. He has just started Siege Tank production, but has not started, Siege Tech quite yet.
Now, right now, we see Lucky going to work on those rocks, wants to be able to come at Artist from any angle possible.
And I will say that Artist, granted, Lucky is actually saving up some of his larvae to go ahead and produce a lot of mutas whenever he can, or as soon as he can. But Artist has done a pretty good job of macroing himself right back into this. Those triple mules are going to be so useful at being able to equalize that supply.
And it looks like FXO Lucky trying to maybe find an opportunity to kill off some Marines, and he might get it here too, but with the medevacs in position, yeah, it's going to be really tough here. There was one group of Marines that was a little bit split up, but you know, Rain Artist, again, we see this. This is actually becoming, those Zerglings are not going to do much. Yep. But this really heavy Marine-oriented Marine tank style is really becoming the norm in TVZ in Korea right now. I mean, we've seen it kind of shift from a lot of tanks to a lot of Marines kind of augmented by the kind of strong backbone of a good amount of siege tanks there. So it's interesting to see this kind of shift in the TVZ metagame. I think it's definitely showing Terrence taking advantage of that nerf to infestors that happened, you know, a patch or 2 ago.
Yeah, definitely. And people are starting to find better control as well. So I'm seeing progressively a lot better splits in Marines, a lot better unit control and positioning. So the Marine is just one of those units. If you can micro them perfectly, they're basically the most effective unit in the game. So so if players have the control to pull it off, of course you'll see that heavier Marine composition. However, a lot of Zerglings making their way in and dying right upon the guns of the Marines.
Well, it's that really heavy Zergling style that we've seen as well. Just a couple mutas here to clean things up in the end, and looks like Lucky's going to go for it. And does he have enough stuff? It looks like he certainly does for the tanks at least. Marines getting pulled back.
Yeah, there was actually, wow, that's actually an impressive split, but there was a really good burst on most of the Banelings, so there's not too many of them left. A few Marines will still go down. However, there's going to be enough left over to drive off the remainder of the Mutalisk, and Artist holds quite well.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, remember when everyone got really excited about the Marine splitting that MKP that Marine King was doing back in like GSL Open Season #2? Well, that skill with Marines is becoming fairly commonplace now. Nearly every top Terran player can split their Marines like that. So Zergs have just kind of learned to deal with it a little bit more. And that's kind of where we're at today as far as like TVZ goes with that.
And a bunch of Banelings are actually going to roll in. There is a siege tank in position. It gets a pretty good burst, and another good split of Marines mitigates most of the damage from the Banelings, but the follow-up attack of Lings is too much. There's not enough Marines here. Are reinforcements going to be enough? I don't know. There's 9 being produced at a time. This missile turret is actually doing pretty good work. Then Artis finds a pretty good engagement.
Coming into the mineral line.
Oh, a lot of workers go down.
Yeah, a lot of workers, a lot of Marines, and it looks like FXO Lucky is taking a firm lead in this game right now, forcing back the third of his Terran opponent while taking his own. Oh, and he's going to get the command center too, even.
Yeah, it's a very, very low in health, down to less than 100 hit points now.
Yeah.
We're going to need to see something. No, the Mutas take it out. They are going to be driven away, but that is a big win for Lucky.
Yeah, absolutely here. I mean, Rain's going to have to pull back, be much more defensive, and now is Lucky's time to really take a couple expansions, kind of make sure that he doesn't lose a lot to drops, which is a possibility now. I mean, Lucky may very well, or Artis rather, may very well use those to try to kind of get some traction back in this game again.
And yeah, I mean, he's going to have to put up another command center here pretty soon, though, as he's approaching low minerals on his main. His natural is pretty well saturated still. He'll be able to survive off that for a while. But of course, if Lucky moves up to a 4th base, he's going to be pretty critically behind in his economy. Those Mutalisks not going to be able to run into those 3 missile turrets, though. Good positioning there.
Look at that. 3 missile turrets right there for Rain Artis. So definitely not overdoing it on the missile turrets, but normally you only see, 2 per mineral line. I like the decision, though, to spend the 100 minerals, get the 3rd, and then just not worry about it. Really say, if you want to attack my natural, you need to go very heavy Muta. He's trying to kind of force FXO Lucky to kind of go into a composition that he wants him to.
And Lucky actually going to bypass those turrets and start swinging his way around a sweet
Wow.
spot. So, wow, Lucky finding an opening and still denying economy there. And in fact, there are no missile turrets over at the main. So if he swings those Mutas around, Artis is going to lose a lot of units.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it looks like he does have some Marines in position to defend against that, but there's so much space to fly behind these bases right now that's really easy to get the Mutas in there.
And there are enough units left over for Artis that he's able to drive away the Zerglings that were making their way through the front. However, he may get flanked here. No, not enough stuff there for Lucky to try and mount an attack. Artis already very, very good split on his units, and neutralizes a pretty good group of Zerglings.
Lucky didn't quite have the army right there to engage that. You can see he's producing a lot of Banelings, a lot of Zerglings right now. He needs to make sure that he has the army. He needs to handle Rain Artis. But the thing about this map is that once you take this high ground in the middle, it becomes very, very easy to kind of dictate where the battles happen. So if Rain Artis is careful about it, he's got a really good chance of doing some damage to Lucky.
Yeah, but he's stimming his units up quite a bit, and those medics are starting to, or medevacs are starting to go very low on energy. Destructible rocks in the middle are about to go down. That's going to give Lucky another path to go ahead and flank with, and there are a ton of Banelings that are sitting outside of his 3rd.
Looks like Artis is going for it here. He's going to want to try to kill that 3rd. Oh, Pearl Banelings! And that was a lot of Marines taken out by Lucky.
Yeah, it really was, and Lucky is actually just going to go ahead and counterattack once again, it looks like. So he's not going to have his full army ready for Artis, and he's in danger of losing his 3rd. Going for the attack, though, there are a lot of Marines sitting behind, and that attack at the front of Artis base was not successful, and as a result, Lucky is going to lose his 3rd.
Yeah, he certainly does. I mean, at least he knows that the reinforcements aren't coming in for Rain Artis right now, so he knows the amount of units that he has to deal with in this army. The question is, being down to just 2 bases, again, essentially down to just 1 base right now, as his main is mined out, will he be able to produce enough units to handle this?
That's a very good question, because the supplies are actually even a little bit of an advantage for Artis. Oh, and the Mutas run right on top of a group of Marines. Marines are pretty effective at taking those out.
Yeah. Well, Artis did such a good job of kind of sitting back, being defensive, being patient, moving out at the right time. And, Lucky didn't really take advantage, I think, of the early lead that he got there. He could have maybe been on 4 bases, but honestly, this map can be very difficult for Zerg once the Terran takes the high ground and has good control like him.
Banelings just blew themselves up on siege tanks. That huge group of huge group of Banelings we saw. So there are plenty of units left over to deal with the Zerglings and the Mutalisks. So all of a sudden, Artis, who I thought was way behind in this game after losing that 3rd, is now way up.
Yeah, he was definitely behind early on, but yeah, I mean, Lucky just couldn't capitalize on it yet. He could still go for the counterattack. It looks like that's what he's planning here, but Artis is going to be all up in his natural very soon.
All up in that
all
natural.
All up in his natural, that's right. Hide your drones, hide your queens. They're stimming everybody in here.
Here we have Marines making their way out. The Baneling Nest is going to fall in addition to a bunch of queens. It looks like Lucky is just setting up for a big flank, but Artis had such good Marine placement that he's able to delay the Mutapack from attacking these siege tanks. The Mutapack is still quite effective in taking out medevacs here and there, but it's not going to be able to straight up engage this very strong position that Artis has established.
Yeah, really nice Muta control, though, by Lucky, gradually whittling down the Marine numbers there. Oh, getting a tank as well. And Artis does need to be a little bit careful here. Those Mutas are getting a little bit lower on health, but Lucky, I just can't believe it. He's like taking this army apart one chunk at a time. This is amazing.
Yeah, he really is, but he's lost quite a few Mutas in the process. Artis is still up in supply. He's actually reestablished his third. Oh,
this is going to do it, though. He's got enough. And with the last Marines dead, the tanks and the medevacs are going to go down, too.
Oh, wow.
Lucky stays alive for a little bit longer. Now, Rain Artis, though, is retaking his third. He's still got a very big army. He's got a Thor in the mix now as well. And, yeah, I mean, it might just be too little too late for Epic So Lucky.
Yeah, Lucky has just been on 2 base for too long in this match. And that Thor is going to prove so useful. There's not a lot more Banelings on the field to the best of my knowledge. No, in fact, none. Yeah. In fact, the only attack units that Lucky has are the 24 Mutas that are currently in the air. There are a few Zerglings that are popping up now, but with the Thors in place, with this mass Marine composition, Artis certainly has the upper hand just in units.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that Lucky can really do right now is try to harass Artis enough to keep him at home. I mean, if he can do that, maybe, just maybe, he can take another base or two. But if you look right now, I mean, he's really struggling to get any minerals at all.
Yeah, he really is. And looks like he is going to be able to take out the natural from Artist, however. So that base does go down. The Muta's proving useful enough to accomplish that task. At the same time, he starts long-distance mining his own third.
Yeah, I mean, with the mules and the fact that he's got a planetary there, Artis is still in a better position, but Lucky, I mean, he's doing a really great job of staying in this game right now.
Yep, and actually, Artis, a very, very good pinch there was actually set all of his units down here so that if the Mutalists decided to turn south, they would run into a bunch of attack units. And those Mutalists still don't want to engage those 3 turrets straight up, despite the fact that they could kill them. He just doesn't want to take the losses.
We'll have to see how it goes. Oh, the Muta's getting a little bit close to that Thor there, taking a volley from whatever those missiles are called on the Thor. Let me see here. It's called the Javelin Missile Launchers. All right, that sounds dangerous, doesn't it?
I love it. Exotic.
That's right. Javelins, I wouldn't want those thrown at me.
They're actually pretty good splash javelins, nonetheless.
I guess so, yeah. That's interesting to note.
But Lucky's going to swing his way around the left-hand side. He will encounter 1 turret that will be not enough to stop all of the Mutalisks, and he does take down a couple of SCVs in the process. Workers killed suggests that Lucky's actually gone through almost 40 workers, so he's done quite a good job of harassment, but has still not been able to whittle away this straight-up attack force, and Artis has actually pulled a 60 supply advantage, and he calls GG.
Yep.
So Artis takes game number 1.
Well, I mean, yeah, we saw Lucky really try to make it work. He had that early advantage, couldn't quite capitalize on it. Rain Artis playing a very methodical, safe game, takes game 1.